Yeah. It's 9 hours in Japan time, midnight UTC. I'm Takahito Kobayashi, with the news. In the headlines, North and South Korea, the United States and China have to begin discussions in working groups for the first time in their Korean peace talks. The European Central Bank has warned that economic turbulence around the globe could have a more severe impact on Europe than had previously been expected. And Samwa Bank and Toyo Trust and Banking have in principle agreed on a comprehensive tie-up and may consider setting up a holding company. Now the main news in detail. In Geneva, North and South Korea, the United States and China are to begin discussions in working groups for the first time in their Korean peace talks. Delegates will be divided into two working groups on Wednesday, the second day of the current round of four-party talks. One group will focus on building a new peace order, replacing the current armistice on the Korean peninsula. The other will discuss specific measures to ease tension between the two Koreas. Our correspondents say that working groups are unlikely to be able to start substantial talks soon, due to the gap between the views of the North and the South. The South Korean delegation has proposed that the delegates must first discuss the setup of a hotline between the two countries' military authorities, as well as prior notification of military drills. But North Korea has insisted that they must first deal with the withdrawal of U.S. troops from South Korea. The European Central Bank has warned that economic turbulence around the globe could have a more severe impact on Europe than had previously been expected. In its first monthly report, the central bank said growing uncertainty has dampened industrial confidence in the 11 countries that had adopted the euro. The report also said that inflation could still be fanned by lax fiscal policies and rising wage demands. The central bank, however, said that it will maintain its key refinancing rate at the current 3%, citing lower inflation. Samwa Bank and Toyo Trust and Banking have in principle agreed on a comprehensive tie-up and may consider setting up a holding company. The two banks agreed to set up their close relations because they saw the need to join hands to survive the ongoing financial Big Bang. They are to announce the agreement later on Wednesday. And as the agreement, the two banks will make investments in each other to reinforce their financial bases and strengthen their capital ties. The operations of Samwa's affiliated trust bank will be transferred to Toyo Trust. The two banks will jointly develop a new type of pension product that the government plans to introduce. Toyo Trust will use Samwa's affiliated securities house when its clients issue stocks or bonds to raise funds. Earlier on Tuesday, two of Japan's 7 major trust banks, Mitsui Trust and Banking and Chuo Trust and Banking, said they could merge by April of next year and will start discussing details of the merger. The president of the two banks made the announcement on Tuesday evening. They have already agreed to name their new bank Chuo Mitsui Trust and Banking. In the merger, each share of Mitsui Trust will be exchanged for a 0.3 share of Chuo Trust. The chairman of the new bank will come from Mitsui Trust and the president from Chuo Trust. The two banks aim to expand their scale and improve the efficiency of their business operations through the planned merger. They also hope the merger will help them write off their bad loans and survive in Japan's increasingly competitive market following large-scale financial deregulation. Prime Minister Keizo Obuchi has stressed his determination to tackle pending major issues such as economic recovery and national security. Mr. Obuchi was delivering his policy speech at the ordinary session of Parliament, which began on Tuesday. He noted that Japan needs what he terms constructive optimism now that the country is in a recession, and pledged to achieve 0.5% growth of the economy in the 1989 fiscal year. Mr. Obuchi proposed that the government create a council of academies to draw up a blueprint of national goals. On national security, the Prime Minister reiterated the government's hope for early enactment of bills related to the guidelines for Japan-U.S. defense cooperation to help strengthen bilateral ties. Mr. Obuchi said that Japan is ready to improve relations with North Korea if the North shows a constructive attitude toward its launching of ballistic missiles and alleged nuclear weapons development program. He also praised his efforts to make swift policy decisions under the new coalition government between the Liberal Democratic Party and the Liberal Party, which was launched last week. Now, here is our frequency notice. You are listening to Radio Japan, broadcasting on 11.705 megahertz, being related to eastern part of North America via Sackville, Canada. This transmission is also related to Europe via Skilton, England, on 6.155 and 6.180 megahertz, and to Central Africa via Ascension Island in the Atlantic on 9.660 megahertz. Listeners in Asia can also hear this transmission until 0:15 hours UTC on 11.815 and 13.650 megahertz. Now, other news. Japan's Foreign Minister, Masahiko Komura, says that to ensure security and prosperity in the 21st century, Japan needs to create a more stable international environment by promoting active diplomacy. Mr. Komura delivered a policy speech on diplomacy in Parliament on Tuesday. Mr. Komura said that Japan needs to strengthen bilateral relations with neighboring countries, including China, South Korea, and Russia, and increase stability in the Asia-Pacific region. He said the government will strive to ensure the effective use of official development assistance. Mr. Komura added that Japan will continue to actively contribute personnel, for example, election monitoring and emergency relief teams, to fulfill the expectations of the international community. In Tokyo, a senior Indian diplomat has said that India will carry out launching tests of short-range missiles this month. Vice Foreign Minister Krishnan Lanuat, who is visiting Japan, made the comment during a news conference on Tuesday. Mr. Lanuat said that his country would observe international practices about such testing, including giving preliminary notice to other countries. He said that the development of missiles is aimed at giving his country the least necessary ability of nuclear deterrence. India's neighbor, Pakistan, is said to be planning a similar test this month. Japan and the United States are asking both countries to exert self-restraint over the matter to prevent the recurrence of the military tension between India and Pakistan that resulted from their nuclear tests last May. A senior Russian lawmaker says Russia and Japan have no need to newly demarcate their borders, and referring to a territorial dispute between the two countries. Duma Vice Speaker Sergei Baburin spoke to reporters in Sakhalin on Tuesday after visiting one of the four disputed Russian-held islands in the Northern Pacific. Mr. Baburin expressed his opposition to the island's return to Japan, although he said that it is favorable for neighboring countries to sign a peace treaty to promote friendship and economic cooperation. On Thursday, Russia and Japan are to start discussing border demarcation and economic cooperation in the hope of signing a peace treaty. Mr. Baburin also indicated his readiness to go ahead with the idea of designating the whole islands as Russia's special economic region. The islands under dispute were seized by the former Soviet Union immediately after the end of World War II. Japan Airlines says it will postpone hiring 10% of the people it had promised to employ for 3 to 6 months. The airliner has decided to delay the hiring of about 30 out of 330 cabin crew members until July and October. It had initially planned to hire all of them as contract workers between April and June. JAL officials say they see little need to hire all these potential workers in spring, as originally scheduled, now that the company has streamlined its flight routes and other operations. This is the airline's first postponement of hiring since 1993. The Economic Planning Agency is predicting brighter prospects for the home electric appliance industry. In its January report on domestic industries, the agency says that domestic shipments of color television sets and video cameras are solid, and more large refrigerators are being shipped than a year ago. The bi-monthly report says that production in the home electric appliance sector seems to have hit bottom. It predicts that the production will start to rise when consumers replace their old appliances. The report also says that 17 other industries remain in a severe condition, but it also points out some bright spots amid the gloom. Production and sales of mini cars continue to exceed the levels of a year ago, and sales of personal computers are beginning to pick up. Liabilities held by Japanese companies going bankrupt hit the record high last year. A private credit research agency, Teikoku Databank, says that more than 19,000 companies failed, each with liabilities of over 10 million yen, or about $90,000 US. This was up by 17% from 1997. Combined liabilities marked 14.4 trillion yen, or $125 billion, up by 2.6%. The figure included the liabilities held by Japan Leasing Corporation, a non-bank affiliate of the Long-Term Credit Bank of Japan, which is now under state control. Japan Leasing failed with the record 2.2 trillion yen, or $90 billion in liabilities. The agency said the bankruptcies resulted in 170,000 people losing their jobs. The figure was the second largest after 1985. Finally, let's take a look at the top stories at this hour. North and South Korea, the United States, and China are to begin discussions in working groups for the first time in their Korean peace talks. The European Central Bank has warned that economic turbulence around the globe could have a more severe impact on Europe than had previously been expected. Sunwha Bank and Toyo Trust and Banking have in principle agreed on a comprehensive tie-up and may consider setting up a holding company. And that's the news from Radio Japan. I'm Takahito Kobayashi. Next follows our weekday magazine program, Radio Japan, 44 minutes. So please, stay tuned.